Hey everyone, Morgan here. So today I want to talk about water storage and specifically how we can all store water, no matter where you live. Now, I understand that water is heavy, but when it comes to water storage and sourcing water, we have to get creative, especially if we live in an urban environment, okay? So one thing that I do want to quickly talk about is rainwater collection. This is our rainwater collection. We have two 275 gallon totes here. You don't have to have this. When we lived in a suburban area, we had a trash can that I made into a rainwater collection. I had a little spigot at the bottom. I had a mosquito net at the top, so no mosquitoes would breed in the water. That thing was always full, and I should have expanded on it. I should have gotten several of them, but I never did. I just had the one. But anyway, if you live in a house, that kind of situation is really, really good. Getting a clean, never before used, garbage can. Now, a lot of people are like, garbage cans, they're not food grade or whatever. But, the water that I'd be using from the garbage can, we usually be going towards animals or the garden. And then if we needed to drink it, we would just purify it before drinking it, like put it through the Berkey or something like that. So that was never a big concern for us. And the mesh over the opening where the water, where the rain could come in, was not just for mosquitoes, but it's to keep debris out as well. So anyway, you don't have to have like a huge system. You don't even have to have a garbage can. You could have a 5-gallon bucket. Okay, just have especially if you live in an apartment or something, you could put like a couple or a few 5-gallon buckets out there, put a mesh over top of it so that the rain can come in. Now, if you have some sort of shade or something over it, you could always do some sort of siphoning system in which, you have something kind of like the gutters a little bit. You can't really modify an apartment like that too much, but in the same kind of sense in which, you might have some sort of something that comes up and then, siphons the water in, basically. So it's kind of like a big funnel that comes in. You could also put the mesh on the end of that funnel. But just that just helps, collect that rainwater, and you can make it, you could even temporarily put gutters just like on the side of your patio railing, as long as it's outside of that sheltered area, and you could temporarily put gutters there, and then again just have it kind of siphon into those buckets, and then you would just use the buckets however you want. Water storage really doesn't have to be complicated. I understand that water is heavy, so you may only be able to have like 1 or 2 of those 5-gallon buckets, especially if you live in an apartment. And again, water is heavy, so if you do live in an apartment, you probably won't be able to store, stacks upon stacks upon stacks of, water inside. But you definitely should store as much, as many gallons of water as you possibly can. And in addition to that, you would basically just want to find, the sources in that urban area about where you could source water. Do you have your own water heater? You can source it there. Of course, you can fill if like there's a blackout or some kind of emergency happening, fill your bathtubs, fill your sinks, fill every container in your household. A lot of people just say, just fill your bathtubs and sinks. I say, get out the pots and pans, get out your glasses, get out your, containers, get everything out that could potentially hold water and fill it up. And then, so now you have like a lot of sources of water. Now, if you're ever planning on hauling water, I cannot stress enough how you have to understand the process of hauling water. A lot of people think, well, whatever, I'm just going to go take a couple gallons down to my local creek and just bring it back up. Great. Now you have a couple gallons of water that's going to last you a day, 2. So how often are you going down? You have to make your time worth it. So, you might get some kind of wheelbarrow or something, and, put like a bunch of containers in that wheelbarrow or wagon or whatever you have available to you. And then you're going to drag that and go down. Also carrying, a couple gallons of water, especially if it's, even if it's only, a couple 100 feet, it's very tiring, and especially if this is in the middle of summer or something, it gets very exhausting very quickly. And then, you know, you're going to have to purify that water, okay? So it's not just collecting the water, but then how are you going to purify it? You know, with tablets. I have a bunch of videos on all this I'm going to put down below in the description box. But tablets, your Berkey, like one of those camp purification systems, you know, whatever you have available to you. I would also have a tiered system of water purification, so that you're not relying on just boiling, or you're not relying on just tablets, that kind of thing. Because all these things, they all take resources, especially boiling. It takes some kind of heat, you know, whether that's from a fire or your propane or whatever. It takes some type of heat, right? So if you have never hauled water from whatever source that you're thinking about hauling water to and from, I want you to first look at how much water you and your family will consume in an emergency situation. Now, in an emergency situation, you will definitely reduce the amount of water that you use. I was talking to one guy when we were looking into a well, and he said that the average household uses 250 gallons a day of water. A day! We use 250 gallons like every 2 weeks or something. So it's crazy to hear these numbers. So if you can start to decrease and conserve the amount of water you use now, you'll already be in that mindset of conserving water in an emergency situation, right? So, you know, definitely in an emergency situation, you're going to be taking different kinds of, you know, baths or different kind of showers. You know, you're going to be using water differently. You're going to be, you know, really conserving because you probably have not stored that much. You know, even these 275 gallons, you know, this, like I said, this one could last us 2 weeks for drinking alone. Well, for drinking and a little bit of cleaning, possibly a tiny bit of hygiene, but really, you know, this is like max 2 weeks, one of these. So it's a big eye-opener when you start thinking about it in those terms. This looks huge. It looks like it holds a lot of water, but you know, it's really not that much in the grand scheme of things, you know, especially if you have a garden or livestock or any animals, especially if you have, you know, a family. You're more than just you, right? Everything and everyone takes water. So you just want to really keep that in mind and be serious about how you use water on a daily basis. And then you're going to say, okay, well, if our family is going to, you know, reduce down to like 2 gallons of water a day, which is not very much, especially for drinking purposes. I'd really say that's like mostly for drinking purposes. You know, you may need it for cooking or whatever else. Cleaning, you know, hygiene, everything. Then let's just say you're only going to use 2 gallons a day. Go down and actually start hauling water every day, okay? And, you know, we have a system of hauling water right now, but we are very aware that, you know, when it comes down to it, if we don't have gas in our Jeep to go get the water, we're going to be using a different method of water. Now, if you're in an urban area and you're going to like collect water, okay, you have to be kind of a little inconspicuous about this. If you're dragging a wagon behind you with a whole bunch of water containers in it, you know, you're probably going to be a little bit of a target. So I probably wouldn't, you know, I'd be a little inconspicuous about it. You may even want to see if you can go invest in a grocery cart or find a grocery cart or something, you know, so that you kind of blend in with the rest of society. You know, carrying a wagon behind, that's not really something that you see, or that's, you know, carrying a wagon behind, that's not something you see every day, therefore it would stand out. But, you know, seeing someone push a grocery cart is unfortunately not an uncommon sight. So again, it's just kind of thinking about how you're doing this. How are you hauling the water? How are you making it less conspicuous that you're hauling the water? How far are you hauling the water to and from? How often are you going to have to do this? I mean, you really don't want, if you don't have to leave your home, you really shouldn't have to, especially in an emergency or disaster situation in which there's potential looting, there's potential unhygienic situations. There's a bunch of debris, there's a lot of chaos going on. And when I say chaos, I mean just, you know, people's homes destroyed or whatever the case may be, you know, just a bad situation happening outdoors. And if you can stay inside your home, that's probably for the better, you know, maybe only going out once a week or so, or, you know, just minimizing the trips that you go outside. Using a Silcock key is definitely suggested if you know a nearby building in an urban area or something, you know, to access water. Now, again, I have to stress all the time that using a Silcock key is only for emergency purposes only, okay? Do not use a Silcock key in just everyday life. Only use it in emergency purposes Only emergency and disaster situations, okay? The main point that I'm making throughout this whole thing is get creative with your water storage. You don't have to have big setups like this. I didn't for a really long time. I didn't even buy like the official, water totes. It's like these blue water barrels, they're like are officially for, water collection. I didn't even do that. I did a simple DIY, which I'll have a link down below. And it worked amazing for years and years, okay? So think outside the box a little bit, work within your budget, work within the amount of space that you have. And one last thing, you may want to build relationships with your community, so that if you know somebody who lives in a house, maybe you can say, hey, could we set up a rain barrel at your house, rain collection system at your house, and we can help each other out. I'll give you food if I can get your water, whatever, right? Start building up that network. And I'm going to be talking about building up your prepper network in a future video, so watch out for that. But I hope that this has given you an idea about water storage and thinking outside the box about water storage. Have your water storage available to however much you can have accessible to you. And also make sure that you have water purification, any type of water purification on the ready, filter and purification methods on the ready. And make sure that if you are going to haul, make sure that you understand how difficult it is to actually haul. And if you're doing this on a consistent basis, how are you going to make it a little less inconspicuous that you're hauling water to a specific location? If somebody else can't get their own water, but they see you accessing water and carrying it back to your home, they're going to want what you got, especially in an emergency situation where stress and tensions are already very high. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I would love to hear any of your other comments, suggestions, anything else when it comes to water storage. I have a bunch of links down below in the description box that comes about water purification, water storage, types of bins and things that you can store water in, just a whole bunch about water storage for bugging in and bugging out. Links down below in the description, and don't forget to head to my website at preparedness.com, and don't forget to check out the playlist for the 30 days of preparedness. So many great channels. Thank you all so much for watching Conquer Tomorrow by Preparing Today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.